Hi, everyone. Welcome to the middle of week 5 and unit 5. I just want to clear up some things for you in the middle of the week and also remind you first and foremost that your initial post for your discussion board is due tonight. And in fact, the discussion board is the only thing due this week. The reason being is that you have an argumentative essay to write that will be due at the end of next week. And so I'll talk a little bit about that as well, but I do want to focus specifically on the work that we will be doing this week. So if you scroll down, you see that you have a couple short stories to read here. Shirley Jackson's dystopian story, The Lottery. And I'll just say it's a surprise ending, I think. It's a really good short story, one of my favorite short stories of all time. It is not for the faint of heart, I shall say. And then also you will read Philip K. Dick's The Hanging Stranger, which is also incredibly interesting. Good bit of science fiction there as well. And then also, so the third piece is not really a reading. It is a video in which author Margaret Atwood is talking about her novel, The Handmaid's Tale. If you're not familiar with The Handmaid's Tale, it has been converted into a Hulu series, which is very frightening and very topical for the moment. And so essentially, you will be looking at all three of those. And specifically in your discussion board, you will be thinking, you will be creating an argument, thinking about which of these three authors work to portray a specific conflict known as person versus society. Okay. Now, I would really recommend watching the video about conflict, but in brief, person versus society in terms of a conflict, the society or the world around the main character in a story is, sort of working against them or creating the problem, right? Conflict, in essence, is a problem that your main character has to solve, an obstacle to get over, etc. And there's a variety of different types of conflict, right? A lot of conflict you see in writing is the individual versus themselves, where their biggest enemy or their biggest obstacle is overcoming their own fears or their own addictions or whatever it might be. In this case, for this specific assignment, and all three, I'm gonna bury the lead. All three of these works essentially dictate a plot where you have a character or characters who are fighting against the system, right? It's fighting against the rules of society, the traditions of society, in some way that is working against their interests. All right. So all three of them have it. So you're not going to be wrong, whichever one you feel, pick whichever one you pick. But your job here is to state to you personally, to argue which of these three portrays the conflict of person versus society the most. And also how they do that, right? So what are the rules of society that are dictated in this work, whichever work you pick? How are they working against the character in question? All right, so that's the first thing. The second thing you would want to do is to share a modern day piece of literature. So anything that you run into, a movie, a book, a novel, a TV show, whatever, that sort of supports your response, right? So in other words, what does it remind you of? What is there another piece of literature that you view as being this specific type of conflict of person versus society? It could be anything you can think of. And so that's the assignment for this week. And then from there, you will also respond to two of your peers as always. All right, so that's it for this week. The initial post is due tonight. The peer responses are due on Sunday. Now, in a couple weeks, so 2 weeks, I'm going to go ahead and go over this now because this is something that you need to spend more than a week on, likely. You're going to be writing your position paper over To Kill a Mockingbird. Now, last week you wrote a research essay in which you were analyzing the life of Harper Lee, the novel's author, and comparing her life events to the fictionalized account that she portrays in To Kill a Mockingbird, specifically around the life of the narrator and protagonist Scout, right? So next week, what you'll be asked to do is to complete a position paper, an argumentative essay, and that's why we're doing work on conflict and argument here, specifically with this prompt, right? Should Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird be banned in middle and high schools? Why or why not? All right, so you're going to decide and you're going to choose a side of that issue and then argue your perspective using research, at least 2 sources, defending your argument. Okay. The controversy here is that this is the most popular novel written by an American in the 20th century. It is widely read in schools, and some school districts, some more conservative school districts, have banned this because of its treatment of race, because of its sort of adult themes. And so what you're really asked to do is to think about its appropriateness in middle and high schools, not necessarily that it's a bad novel or it's a good novel, etc. But think about the themes that are present in To Kill a Mockingbird and whether or not you think that middle and high school kids should be exposed to those. That's the question here. And now you might be saying, well, I didn't read To Kill a Mockingbird. Well, of course you didn't. You have time to. But what you should have done is watch the film. The film is an adaptation that was directly that Harper Lee had direct involvement in, so it's a good stand-in. This is the link for the movie. You should have already watched it by now, but if you have not, please do finish watching that, and we'll go from there. Again, the essay isn't due until the end of week 6, so next week. But I did want to give you just a heads up because it is something that will take some time, right? And you should really focus on that. So that's it for this week. If you have questions, as always, please do not hesitate to ask me. Send me emails. I've heard from a lot of you, some I've not heard from, which I assume that you're doing fine. Also keep in mind that I accept all late work without penalty. So if you have work out that you would like to turn in, please do that. If you did not do well on a specific assignment and you would like me to reopen the assignment so you can submit another attempt, email me as well, and you can do that as well. All right, take care, have a great rest of your week, and I'll speak to you Sunday.